What's up, everybody? Welcome to podcast now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to look back at another anniversary. It has been a day of just anniversaries, and I love anniversaries in general. I'm a big numbers guy. My third channel, Podcast Now, Back to the Past, of course, if you haven't subscribed there, it's a channel that pretty much just focuses on, okay, it's a 6-year anniversary, let's play the game over again. So I'm big into that. We had the 30th anniversary of the PlayStation 1. We had Crash Bandicoot turning 29. We had Spyro turning 27, and we also had Dead Island 1 turning 14. A lot of great games. I'm not a huge fan of the first Dead Island, but I love Dead Island 2. But still, amazing games, an amazing system, a system that started it all for me. How about we go back to an anniversary that's not very good? Now, look, at the time, it was maybe like we were living in the best timeline possible, right? You think back to September of 2021, and we are riding high. We've been riding high, if you think about it. We were riding high for like a year and a half, at least in the PlayStation division. Now, in the world, we were probably not riding very high, right? 2020 just came and went, but you think about some of those state of plays and showcases when they announced the PS5, I believe that May, or I think it was the June of 2020. Then you had September of 2020. That's where they did Hogwarts Legacy, and amongst many other games, by the way, but Hogwarts Legacy, of course, always stands out in my head. 2021 was another one. I believe this is where we got Spider-Man 2 as well. So, I mean, they've done some amazing things at these state of plays or showcases 4 or 5 years ago. The issue is it has been 4 years since Marvel's Wolverine, and that's the general talking point of this video. Look, I know I've mentioned this game. We've talked about it a couple different times in the last few days, thanks to Tom Henderson, the rumor that it's going to be shown off at something, right? Maybe it's shown off at a state of play later this month. Maybe it's shown off at the Game Awards. Those really seem like only the two options. There's not a third. I don't think PlayStation's going to Tokyo Game Show, and if they are, they're not showing Wolverine there. So you really have those two options, and it needs to happen. I know it's a broken record. I understand that. I find it fun, though, to be honest with you, that we always talk about the need for it to happen, and we talk about how long it's been, but then to truly put it in perspective, that 4 years ago today, I'm seeing on Twitter all the compilation clips of all the people, live reacting to the showcase or state of play or whatever 4 years ago, and when they announced Wolverine, right, the faces, all the different people's reactions, I see Evan Filarka in that video amongst other people. I mean, the amount of excitement, and again, like, it was a special time. It was a special time in what PlayStation was doing and how good these shows were, and then also, like, getting a Marvel's Wolverine game announcement is pretty freaking fantastic. And again, it leads us to now, and it leads us to the things that I say over and over again. Look, I understand the hack, and we've talked about that 1,000 times as well. You have to show it. It starts to like teeter on the line of embarrassment after a certain amount of time. And I do understand, like, that throws things, into a whack. Like, that is not okay. It's not something that traditionally happens to these games, right? But, normally when you go 3, 4, 5 years without seeing a game, that's where the problems start to, or at least those are honestly, like, looking back, they tend to be games that have some problems, right? Like, okay, well, you think about Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman was approaching 4 years since you've seen it. You think of games like Star Wars Eclipse and Knights of the Old Republic, and you think about games that were shown, I think, was Knights of the Old Republic actually shown 4? No, maybe that was 3 years ago. But I mean, you think about these games that were shown off 3, 4, 5 plus years, and don't you normally, when you think of them, you don't think the greatest things, right? You think about, honestly, you think about troubled games, and you think about games that potentially may never come out. Now, I always root for them. I still think KOTOR is going to happen. Now, PlayStation's not attached anymore, but I still do think it's going to happen. But, this is what happens when, in my opinion, even with the hack, and I've always said this, you still announced it too early. I will give you a pass on the hack, okay? That's just not acceptable, and not from Insomniac. It's not acceptable to people that did that. But what is also not acceptable is announcing a game far too early. And I think even, like, best case scenario, this game probably would have come out 2024, maybe even right now, let's say, within the last, say, 12 months. And I mean, that's also still too early, to announce the game, I think, 3 years ahead. I know that was an era of PlayStation doing that, and to be fair to them, they have backed off. Historically, like, the last couple of years, they really have done, you could argue, a much better job. I think it depends on the type of person you are. Like, maybe you like to see games super far out, and there's times I do as well. But I think PlayStation is taking that approach where, hey, we're announcing a game 6 months before, or we'll announce the game maybe 2 years ahead of time, but then you're not going to see it till 6 months before. And then from 6 months to the game coming out, we're going to go all in, right? And you're going to see it a bunch. And it's why I've said before, if we really are going to see Wolverine like now, like within the next 2-3 weeks, I really think that means the game is coming out no later than this time next year. That might actually even be too late, to be honest with you, because it gives them, a year to just go all in, and you will start to see it more and more and more. And I think that would be the sign, right? To be honest, I mean, yes, it looks bad the longer you don't show Wolverine, but if you show Wolverine and then it's got 2 more years still, that's also bad, right? So it's like, I almost would prefer, if that's the case, if Wolverine doesn't come out till like fall of 27, don't show it. I know we're like asking for it, and we want them to, and they are going to show it, within the next, say, 3 or so months. I would actually petition that not to happen. If that's what it means, if it means that we see it, but you got to go 2 more years. I'm not about that life anymore. So yeah, that's my thoughts on it. Again, we say kind of the same thing, but it's crazy to think about that it really has been 4 years, and we're entering that territory where it starts to become a problem. Again, it joins a league of games that when Tomb Raider was one. Honestly, Crisis 4 would have been one. That game was literally iced. They put it to the sidelines and said we're not working on it anymore. So, a lot of games that were announced 3, 4, 5 years, and 4 years is kind of that magic number. When games go past that time, there really tends to be problems, whether that's why it's been so long since we've seen it. And to be honest with you, Wolverine is in that category. There was something wrong. The hack. There could have also been other things wrong. Remember, there was a couple, I think, whether it was, lead writer or a lead on the game, maybe 2 of them. I remember doing a story on that. A couple of leads left. So that also could have been a problem. Like they might have had an issue mid-development beyond the hack. They might have just also had a general problem, and they needed to swap people in and out. So it is one of those games. It's just hopefully we're on the other side of it now, which I honestly do believe we are. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.